What is up, everyone? With Fortnite continuing to dominate the internet around the world, many YouTubers great and small have decided to use this fun to play game to their advantage content wise. But in order to get your content noticed, you need to have a good thumbnail. So that's why today I'm going to teach you all how to make thumbnails for Fortnite videos. Okay, so I already have Photoshop opened up. All the things that you need will be in the description. New, we're going to click new. We're going to name it whatever, but I feel lazy, so I'm going to leave it at Untitled-1. The width is 1920 and the height is 1080. Make sure it is set to pixels, none of this other crap. And you can also downscale the resolution. It doesn't have to be this. It can be 1280 by 720 if you like. We're going to hit OK once we're done. Now very quickly, I'm just going to go to window and then go all the way down to history, select history. This is very important. If you make a mistake, instead of hitting delete or Control Z, you can just go back here into the history and undo it from there. Okay, so obviously the first thing we need is our background. So you're going to go into your file browser. And in this case, I have a screenshot. Like I said at the beginning, it's a very specific screenshot. This is going to be a very specific thumbnail, but you can apply all these concepts to your own thumbnails in the future. Now, I actually got this screenshot from the replay mode in Fortnite itself. And this was actually from one of the games that I actually happened to win, and this was last person. I thought this was perfect for this video because you know, the last person is right here and then I'm right here about to snipe him, and you're gonna see exactly what we're gonna do. It's gonna be interesting. Now unfortunately, the FPS indicator right here was toggled on. I could have just taken another screenshot, but I was feeling lazy at the time too. But we're just gonna crop that out. Now we're gonna drag this to one corner. Always make sure you hold shift when you're rescaling to maintain the aspect ratio. We're just gonna make this a little bigger. It's not gonna change the resolution that much or significantly, so don't worry about that. And then once it's out of sight, hit enter. All right, we're gonna zoom in by holding Alt and scrolling up, and by zooming out, you guessed it, by scrolling down, just so you know. All right, so we're gonna zoom in. Now we're going to crop out my character, and we're gonna give it a stroke because we need to highlight it, otherwise it's gonna look a little plain and dull. So before we do that, we need to do one thing. We need to right click this layer and we're going to hit rasterize, and what that does is it makes it editable. That's all you need to know. Just click rasterize. All right, now we're going to go to the pen tool. All right, we're gonna click this tool. Never use the lasso tool because the lasso tool is for plebs. We're gonna use the pen tool. All right, and make sure it's set to path, but it should be set to that automatically. Now this is gonna be a little time consuming, but you need patience. Patience is a virtue. We're just gonna crop out this entire thing, including the hunting rifle, and then once we do that, we'll be done. Now for all of you guys who've been using the lasso tool and are just converting to pen toolism, it works on the same way. Just start at one point and then go to another point right here. I don't think you really need to zoom in that much, but if you do, then okay. Now this is her head. I'm going to try to curve it a little like that. And in order to curve it, just click on the last point that you made and just drag it. Make sure this little thing pops up here. It's kind of like a line. Make sure that that is placed in the direction of where you want the line to go further. So just like that, and then just keep on tracing it over like this. If you make a mistake, hit Control Z or go back into the history and undo it. almost done. As you get closer to your starting point, all right, you should get this tiny little circle at the bottom left corner of the pen icon, and then you just click that to join everything together. Now we're going to right click our outline. We're going to click make selection. You can add a feather radius, and what that does is makes the edges less jagged, but from my experience it doesn't really need to be perfect and it'll still turn out good. Now it makes a selection. By the way, for any of you guys who like making thumbnails, never use a Zoe with a cape on. Otherwise, you'll waste 30 minutes of your life like I did because of how complicated the design for this skin is. All right, so now that we have our selection, I'm going to hit Control J to copy it. Now we have a copy of it. Now it's just here. Look at this. Look at how nice and clean this looks. Even when you zoom in, doesn't it look amazing? You can't get this from the plebeian lasso tool. Do you guys know what a plebeian is? A poor Roman guy. You guys don't want to be that. So we're gonna double click our new beautiful layer, and we're gonna give it some effects. What I like to do is give it a stroke, white stroke. Nice. You can adjust the size if 10 is too big or if 10 is too small for you, and the inner glow. Those are like the two main ones. All right, turn the choke all the way down. You don't need a large choke. Increase the size. Maybe you do need a little bit of a choke. And drop shadow. That's the rule of thumb for whenever you want to add an outline to something. Stroke, inner glow, drop shadow. Must. Those are your go-tos. So we can increase the spread. Increase the spread. That looks nice. You can adjust the size as well. You can even add a distance to it so that it makes it appear to be 3D. That's actually a cool looking effect, so I might add that. Let me guys know. What? That makes no sense. Let me know what you prefer. If I add distance, well, it's not very significant, so you know, forget the question. Now we have our outline. Another thing that I wanted to do to make this less bland is to put a red circle around this guy. Now you guys probably seen your favorite YouTuber do this at least once or twice. So I'm going to have the let me explain what I'm doing. Sheesh, what am I doing? All right, you're gonna go down here to the ellipse tool. It should be set to rectangle to the default, but if you click and hold it, then you can select the ellipse tool. Okay, now you're gonna go anywhere on your screen, doesn't really matter. Hold shift and drag. When you hold shift, it makes sure it's a nice well-rounded circle, not some weird discombobulated oval. Now since this is gonna be a very small circle because you know he's so far away, we're going to go down here, and you can also go up here if you want. Go to stroke, make sure it's selected the stroke, solid color, select the color to red, and make sure fill is disabled, so the red slash on the white square thing. I'm gonna try setting this to 15. 15 is good. We could probably adjust it later. I don't really know. All right, so we're gonna hit Control T. We're gonna zoom in by scrolling up and holding Alt, and we're gonna hold Shift and drag this down, very down. Put it right here on this guy in the distance. Man, what were the odds of this happening? This was great. I get a win, and then I can use it for a thumbnail tutorial. I'm actually gonna make that a little bigger. Hold Shift and Alt, and then drag out. When you hold Shift, it increases the size of the image from the center instead of just one corner. Okay, now one more thing we're going to do. We're going to double click the ellipse. We're going to give it a stroke as well, white stroke, reduce the size, and a drop shadow. Now I'm gonna set the distance to 0. Anytime I go into the blending effects options, all you guys have to do is just pause the video and just copy down everything you see and then resume. We're gonna hit OK. All right, now we got our outlined player, and we got our target with a red circle around it. The next thing we're going to do is add a inventory slot layout, or a hotbar slot, whatever you want to call it. Now I've made this from beforehand, but you guys can make this yourself. And I made this actually with the help of a GFX template, and the guy has everything you need: the hotbar slots, the maps, the map locations, everything, the skins. And I'm just gonna drag and drop it here. Now we have bolt action, and actually wasn't thinking, for some reason I kept on thinking I was using a bolt action in this game, which I wasn't. I was using a hunting rifle, but who cares, man? It's just a thumbnail. Okay, so now we got lots of pretty overpowered items. That's what you want to do. You need to make your thumbnail stand out. So we got this. We have everything, all of our items. Now we're gonna rotate this a little. So click any of the outside corners while it's still in transformable, and just rotate it in any direction. And then I'm gonna drag it a little over here and then put it here. You know, some people add stars and stuff because they're legendary items, but I chose not to do that Now you see it's looking a little empty here, and I don't like empty spots on thumbnails. I don't know about you guys. So I also have another screenshot of a map, and this is a screenshot from the actual game. I tried my best, guys, but I could have gotten a screenshot of the actual mini map, but I had to go into the larger map because Epic Games likes to screw you over. So you know how you go into the replay and then there's a camera. That camera is always there. I don't want people to be like, why is there a camera icon instead of a player icon like this? If you guys know what I mean. All right, so we're gonna hold shift. We're gonna make this a lot larger. The quality is gonna be a little downscaled because of that, but you guys get the idea. This is all for demonstration. Now we're gonna make it as large as the mini map is. And once you're done with that, you can hit enter, and then it'll look like this. Now we can go ahead, double click it, give it a drop shadow, but if you pay attention, it actually has an outer glow, but the outer glow has a large, is it range? I think decrease the size, a large spread, yes, and then decrease the size. So we can do that. Let me see if a drop shadow will work. It looks interesting, but I think I'll just leave it as that and hit enter. Now I did not include any of the stats or anything because cropping that out would take forever, but you can see where we're going with this. We have all the aspects of the game and stuff. Now there's one more thing I want to do, and that's to add an arrow. So I'm just gonna pull that up right now. You guys can find all types of arrows on Google. I'm gonna use this one because it's curved and it looks very proportional. I'm going to rotate it again. It was pointing to me. I prefer for it to point at the person, but that is completely fine. We're gonna make it a little larger. Okay, now the problem that I have with this arrow is that it's gray, and we need to add some effects to it. So I'm just gonna double click the curved arrow and then pull up the effects menu. Now we're going to go to color overlay, and the color overlay should be set to red by default. If not, then just drag the slider over here all the way down and then drag it up like that, and then hit OK, and then you're fine. We're gonna give this a stroke as well. Just put strokes everywhere. You can't go wrong with strokes. And we're gonna make this a little larger, 18, 20. Yeah, let's go with 20. Drop shadow. I'm gonna do something a little different with this drop shadow. I'm gonna increase the distance. Reduce the size a little bit. Actually, don't reduce it at all. And increase the spread. And now instead of it being like this one, it has a more significant 3D effect because I increased the distance. But there's just one more thing that I love to do with my thumbnails, and that's to add some, well, not really color corrections because, you know, I don't get into the curves and stuff like that because I don't know how to do it. But what I like to do is just give it some brightness and contrast, saturation, and everything. So I'm gonna move this thing over here. And now we're gonna go over to the adjustments. First of all, we're going to go add a brightness and contrast. I like to turn up the contrast first, and you can see the effect it has on the thumbnail. I like to turn it up like almost max, but not max, like somewhere in the 40s, I believe. Brightness, never go insane with the brightness, but you can turn it up a little, just a little bit. And then next, I like to go to this thing, vibrance, which looks like an upside down triangle. Turn on the saturation. The saturation is really what makes the thumbnail pop. Like, look at the difference. I turned it down, and look at that. Look at that. It just makes it look so bright and dreamy in a sense. Like, it applies more contrast than the actual contrast effect. So I like to put that in the 20s. Well, for this thumbnail, the 20s. Okay, and the vibrance, you can play around with the vibrance, but I feel like that's a little overkill because we already got the saturation doing its work. Okay, so I believe that's it. So here is your final product. Now, like I said, you can add whatever else you want. Use your imagination and make greatness. All right, so this is 2 days later, but long story short, I forgot to put one of the most important things for any Fortnite thumbnail, and that is the Victory Royale symbol. Specifically, the new Victory Royale symbol that came in the new update for Season 5. Now, I found this on Twitter. I'll link the guy who made this PNG in the description, but if you do win in whichever video you make, you can put this in the thumbnail. This is what people usually do. It's kind of slanted like it is in game, so you're free to rotate it this way, I guess, or you can just leave it slanted. I finally realized that no matter how way I tried to do it, I couldn't incorporate everything, so I just disabled the map because I feel like the map was low quality and wasn't looking nice anyway. This looks a whole lot better, so just take the map out of the thumbnail and just put this in like the top right corner or wherever you feel like, depending on what thumbnail you're making. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope this helped all of you. Let me know in the comments below. And if you really want to let me know if it truly did help you make this thumbnail, follow all the steps and go to my Twitter, which is in the description as well, and mention me on Twitter at osoflex and tell me, hey, I made this thumbnail with your tutorial, and put your thumbnail in your tweet at me so I can see and give you some feedback and be like, good job, all that stuff. But that's up to you. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if this is your first time. I'll do more tutorials like this, and feel free to follow me on Twitch as well, because I play and stream Fortnite on there almost every day and upload my highlights to YouTube. That's all for today. I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.